Welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, a pilot into the universe of Chinese. Now let's continue exploring doublets. Today's doublet is double soil symbol. This soil symbol we met many times. Two horizontal lines with one vertical line. Basically, the top horizontal line means the ground level. Vertical line means anything growing in the ground, so a type of plant. And then the second horizontal line didn't exist in our physical world, is our indicator to point our attention to there. So what does it mean? If you notice, that second horizontal line intersect like a barely on the very tip of supposedly the root of the plant. So that means the meaning we're making from this horizontal line, vertical lines is about the surrounding of the tip of the root. And just anybody have any earthlings, I guess, had the experience living on the planet would realize just by looking at the spatial relativity of things could figure out, okay, so this we mean soil, because soil you cannot really draw it, right? It's not like a plant. You can draw a tree with a trunk, canopy, root. Soil is what's surrounding the root. So that is an indirect way to show you what soil is about. Now we have two soils stack up together. What could that be? Does it mean mountain? We already know what a mountain looks like, right? There's three peaks, that's mountain ranges. We also have a cliff, that top left corner with boxes under it to show the vertical rise, like instant rise, not slow sloped, but vertically. So the two soils together, I translated as 入, but actually it's a culturally loaded Chinese character that in today's world we hardly use this character on its own. We only saw it mostly from classical literatures that we saw this expression. Things it represent no longer in use, but it used to be this gui character, used to be this powerful character because it's associated with the ruler. Therefore, I have the ru in there. There are multiple layers of this ru thing. Okay, so starting with the origin, the first function or meaning of this gui character was a jade scepter. Okay, the scepter, I guess, is equivalent to Western, like a staff with something decorated here, right? And whoever hold that thing symbolizes that's a special person, got a special power above the rest of us, right? That's a ruler's, I guess, a visual cue to show you who has that decorative staff would be the scepter, would be the most powerful here. So this was the ancient jade equivalent. It's in a shape of top of a triangle shape, a sharp corner pointing toward heaven, I guess, and bottom, and with a rectangular bottom. So it's kind of like this and this. Kind of like a profile view of children's hand drawing of multi-story building. So the roof is like that, right? And the bottom is like a box. And pretty flat, made of jade, probably carved with some information. I never met one, but probably museums would hold this symbol of power from ancient times. So that was the first use of this character, gui. And from the three expressions here, gui, jiao, gui, biao, gui, cuo. Okay, as I said, none of them are in our everyday language anymore, but they revealed a little corner of the ancient world. So gui jiao jiao means this angle. And we're talking specifically of this jade tablet thing used by rulers to symbolize themselves, to kind of authorize, like a war situation. You would probably need that thing to show it's actually come from the country's leader. So 龟角 means that sharp triangle on top of that jade tablet. Sometimes Chinese don't say 龟角 just talking about that tip. Like, what's the point of talking that tip? It used to describe type of person or situation where you, almost like in English as tricky or sharp, a sharp character, a sharp mind, a sharp talent that's not easily formed into this rectangular shape. That sharpness involves aggressiveness. So somebody who probably is ambitious and not afraid to show it. So here, there's a little bit of cultural background over there. So ancient times, the hierarchy in Chinese bureaucracy would be, if you want to advance your career, you don't really self-promote. That would be like showing your 龟角. Like, you don't want to show that you're eager, you want to step above or lean in, right, in today's word. But in ancient times, it's if you were picked, starting from the national exam, right? If you were picked, you were good enough, read right, by the nation to be part of the mechanism of running the country, then eventually you, I guess, political triangulate your way up. You let others speak to you, kind of like your reviews. You form alliance, but you don't want to show your 龟角. Okay, so that's a little bit national psyche back then. And 龟角 describes it's better that. And probably because 龟 means this jade tablet, probably is also in that shape as well, right? The top is kind of triangular, the bottom is duller, it's not as sharp, so definitely is pointing upward. So it's almost like emperor's symbol for themselves and emperor's way of, like, emperor's radar pointing toward the sky to try to establish some communication or special status for the ruler themselves. So this 龟角 especially talk about the pointy end of that power symbol. So that itself, unless you're in that power position, you don't want to show your 龟角. Okay, 龟表 is sundial. So 龟 from the ruler's symbol drop or transfer to astronomy use. That the sundial ancient times with this big flat surface, mostly stone, right? Then meticulously drawn out the measures to track the movement of the sun by this needle thing, right? And then you can tell what time of the day and what day of the year, things like that. So 龟表 talking about the surface, talking about the face of that sundial, and 龟 is this measurement carved on that surface. 龟表 龟撮. Okay, this it's nothing to do with jade or measurement of time, but it's a measurement of volume. As you know, ancient times, people pay tax by the crops. So measure how much crop volume measurement became especially important. So 龟撮 somehow this 龟 from the measurement, either as a ruler or the time, the sun movement. Here, measure became the minimum measurable volume in ancient times. 撮 simply is this pinch, like things you can grab. I guess ancient times before rice was introduced to East Asia, it was millets that local crops growers mostly pay tax for. And different sizes of measurement. In fact, ancient times used a music instrument container to measure volume, and that's the text form. And gui is roughly 6 millets. So tiny bits of like 6 grains of tiny millet. And that's the smallest volume measurable. And I think probably because gui starts from the tip of this power structure in Chinese, right? Jade tablets. Now, gui, this volume is kind of, even if it's insignificant, it's 6 millets. It's kind of associated, like you're dealing with the highest authority or ruler in the country. And so you probably want to be accurate. That's gui cuo. So here is a sundial, how that looks. And I believe this is probably came from China. That here is not showing the sundial carve. It would be on the other side. So gui. Thank you for your time. See you another day.